Video tutorial on graphs for Physics 151. This is the data we'll start with for practice. It is in the assignment, and if you want to follow along, you can paste it from the assignment into a spreadsheet. I kind of put it in the middle here so I can do other things on this side if I want. So if you want, you can pause for a minute, open a spreadsheet, paste in the data. So we want to make a graph. To make a graph, it helps to have things in columns like this. If not, if there are empty rows, that's okay. But generally speaking, if things are columns, that is what I'll be assuming. If your data are in rows, then there are some extra steps you would have to take. So you select one column. In this case, I have an uncertainty column, the uncertainty of the time, so I don't want to graph the uncertainty. We'll show what to do with that a little later. So I hold down the Control key and select the other column that I'm going to graph. So it's going to graph this rightmost column versus the leftmost column. Go to Insert. Recommended charts, we want to pick this one. And if you hover, it says Insert Scatter, X, Y, or Bubble Chart. That's what we will always do. So click on that. And we will always choose the one that just has dots and no lines. We'll put in our own lines later if we want to. There's the graph. Now there are certain elements a graph needs. It needs a title. Excel automatically puts in a title. It is not necessarily a good title. It also needs to have labels for these axes so you know what it is. Excel does not put those in automatically even though you had them here, so we have to do that by hand. Since the chart title is already here, if it's not there, you can go over to Add Chart Element, click, and go to Chart Title, and then probably pick the one that's above chart. Okay, so in our case, the title's there, or you can put it in, and I'm going to change this. Height is not a useful title. In fact, we're going to use height to be one of the axis labels. That's the vertical axis label. So it's not useful to have a chart title that just tells me what the graph is plotting in terms of the axis labels. So this might be, for instance, thrown ball. Don't hit enter. So now we want to label these axes. The horizontal axis, we want to label it as time in seconds. So add chart element, axis titles, primary horizontal, and you can click here and type in time. Okay, we need to select all of this. Select all of that so we can replace it and type time. And in parentheses seconds. Make sure you always have a label that says what the axis represents and also the units. Same way, we can add the vertical double. Okay, triple click so it selects all of that, and here we want height in meters. Height meters. And there we go. We have the axis labels, a title. It already has the grid lines. If it doesn't, you can go to Add Chart Element and add the grid lines, but you can see these are highlighted. They're already there. Grid lines are good. They help you kind of see what's where on the graph. Now, one other thing the graph always needs to have, since we're taking real data, and real data has uncertainties, is we need what Excel calls error bars. This is indicating what we've been calling uncertainty. What is the actual range of the data? Since these numbers may have come from, say, multiple trials and doing averages and deviations, or the uncertainty may come from the difficulty we had in determining the quantity. Say maybe this came from a video analysis and we found that we could only locate the ball to within 0.515 meters given our inability to always click in the same place. So add chart element, go down here to what they call error bars, and you need to go down to more options because all the options Excel wants to do naturally are not appropriate. And Excel just says, okay, I'm going to throw in some error bars, plus or minus 1 on all the quantities because that's what it does. So we have to go and fix all of this. So if I click on this little graph thingy where it says error bar options, it says, okay, let's look at the vertical error bars. You want to keep both up and down, plus and minus, but you do not want the fixed value. Instead, you want custom. So you click on that. So we're doing the vertical error bars, which is height. So when you click on specify value, it's going to have you now put in what are the appropriate uncertainties, the appropriate errors for each of the individual data points. And this is already highlighted. This is for the plus above the data point. And you can simply select the numbers that go with those errors. And if you go down here, do the same thing and select all of those. And you can click OK. And now you see they've gotten a lot smaller. To do the horizontal ones, we can click on them. And now over here it says horizontal. We do the same thing. Click on custom, specify value. This is highlighted, so we can highlight the horizontal errors, which in this case are time. And select for the negative error value. Highlight over here again. And click OK. And there's an error. Okay, I didn't quite highlight it right, so I have to get rid of this. And there you go. And the error bars are nice and small. You can't really see them horizontally because the error of time is 2/100ths of a second, which on this scale is pretty small. The vertical ones, the height error bars, you can see barely. Okay, so we have the chart, we have a title, we've labeled the axes, we've put error bars both directions. Something that's useful sometime is to put in a trend line. If you right click on one of the data points, you can add trend line. And there are all kinds of options. It automatically picks the linear one. And you look at that and you say, well, that doesn't fit the eyeball fit. There is a definite curve to this. So there are a variety of curves. You can try an exponential. Yeah, that's not looking so good. Logarithmic. Nope, that's not looking so good. Polynomial. Yeah, it automatically picks second order parabola. That's not too bad. Power law. Nope, that's not looking so good. Moving average. Yeah, let's stick with the polynomial. It's a good idea to display this equation on the chart, and we'll display this mysterious number r squared as well. Then you can go over here to where those are displayed and move the box up here where you can actually see it a little better. We will actually do some things that are a little more sophisticated and powerful than Excel's trend line that will actually let us figure out the uncertainties of each of these numbers that it is putting into the trend line. So your assignment will be to do this with your own data. If you only have one point on the graph, that's okay as long as you include all of these elements.